All right, so for those that don't know what has happened in the last little bit, effectively, if you remember the previous really big Rust drama, which is that they asked Shepard's Oasis, Dorcas the Bjorkus. What's his name though? I just know his Twitter handle, which is Dorcas the Bjorkus. Anyways, he got rejected from being the keynote speaker. And it kind of came at this super weird time. Big write-ups happened, and all these people got upset. And instead of communicating via Discord or anything, and just like getting together and talking, it's like everybody was yelling into the ether, so went completely wild. And that was a while ago, okay? That was the Rust drama, and it's all kind of died down. But then in the last like week, people are dropping some pretty wild accusations. And of course, the accusations came directly after Jaboy David Tolnay dropped a pure binary load in proc macro. Just dropped the load, pure binary. People couldn't reproduce it. Everyone was just like supply chain tack, and they accused him of terrorism. He's kind of been through the ringer for the last little bit. And so 1 week later, we're back at it again. Jaboy David Tolnay right back in the crapper. So let's see what's going on here. And this is the kind of the conclusion. Yeah, they literally said he had terroristic actions and that he was holding the community hostage for building out. He has, I think, of the top 10 most used Rust crates, he has something like 7 of them are his. It's like Tokyo guys and David are the top 10 Rust crates that everybody uses. Like, so this is a pretty prolific community member. Like, this is somebody that genuinely by himself, he's the Sin guy, the guy that built the proc macro. Genuinely great engineer. So let's see what happens here. So David Toll member, a T-Libs member. I don't know what T-Libs are. Is that like a neolib? I'm not really sure what that is. Has recently pointed out as being involved in the RustConf drama, and his apology, which the community has classified as more of a defense than an apology, has started fires. I won't go into details more than needed. I hate drama, and this forum... and that's why we're going to say it all on internals.rustlang.org. Okay. And this forum should be only about technology. But hold on. I love this statement. This statement's great, which is what brings us all together. However, actually, it's not, clearly. However, we need to move forward, and with David Tolnay being a part of the Libs team, this forum is seen as an appropriate place to discuss this. The purpose of this post is to propose a series of steps to fix the mess for once. And having read every post I could find about this on the social media platforms where Rust is most prominent, I assume they mean Mastodon. Is Mastodon the most popular place for Rust? I assume Mastodon is. I will be trying to explain what I think the community thinks is right as a self-nominated ambassador. Ooh, always be careful as a self-nominated ambassador, because the moment you make yourself the community representative, you also just get shit on forever and will receive private messages that are grotesque, okay? Just as somebody who has had all those things happen, it's just a warning. As such, you know how many dick pics you get? I'll tell you this much. It's not 0, okay? Which it should be 0. Just saying. It should be literally 0, and yet somehow it's not 0. As such, everything here is open to discussion. Serde, which is primarily maintained by David Tolnay, has become a crucial part of the Rust ecosystem, and I congratulate him on that. With the recent events, though, in which he used Serde as a pawn to create massive outcry and move forward with his efforts to sandbox procedural macros, which, by the way, this is a pretty intense statement to make, okay? To be fair, his argument back was that it literally shaved like minutes off of builds doing what he did. So is what he did wrong? No, I think that maybe he went about it a little too, a little too fast, a little too excited. But to say that he was holding the community hostage to get his way, it seems like a really, 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 really intense like reading. And I just don't know if you can actually do that. By the way, if you can't tell, people in my chat are just the worst people on earth. Okay? Thank you for everything that you're giving me, chat. Anyways, so let's see what happens here. Okay. So I'm just trying to give you I'm just trying to give everyone the context on what's happened, because I haven't reported on any of the recent drama because I just got so sick of Rust drama. I figured that it had to stop, but it just is like a gift that no matter how much you ask it to quit giving, it just keeps giving. It just keeps on giving, and you're asking it to stop, but it just won't stop, and it just keeps drowning kittens. And so let's find out about the next kitten that's being drowned. Let's see. Serde has become a holy grail of dependency chain attacks. It just cannot be trusted by people without a good track record anymore. I mean, this is a fairly ballsy statement. It's not the holy grail of dependency. Tokyo is equally as holy grailed. I mean, any Rust crate that, like URL's a Rust crate. Did you know that? Do you know that there is no URL object? You have to go download and add URL. So every application that deals with the web would have this as a package. So it's like, I really feel bad for what they've done to David. Like, I don't know his story. I don't know if what they say is true or false. I have to attribute what he's done to ignorance of how people would react and not to malice, right? I think that's a generally good place to take it, is I don't think people act like in that kind of way. You know what I mean? Actually, let's see, hold on. Actually stupid to attack top-level crates like this anyways. Yes, this is actually super good point, which is everyone's going to notice. You try to attack a crate like this, everybody's going to notice. These ones are actually have scrutiny. Pick a tier 2 or tier 3 crate, idiots. Yeah, this is so true. TJ, this is such a good point. It's such a good point, which is why pick the most looked at and probably added to, probably the most engaged one. Whoops, just defeated cybersecurity. Yeah, good job, TJ. You gave everyone a good idea. The elephant in the room, though, is the RustConf drama. Is it an elephant? Which it never seems to end and refuses to die. I agree. So why? David Tolnay, instead of being part of a public apology, hid that he was an integral part of the PhD's keynote, being demoted for 3 months until someone pointed their finger at him. By the way, when they say that, which is really funny, because like this whole thing that happens is that he kind of gives like his breakdown right here. He effectively says that he brought all of this stuff up long before he was ever told anybody had even been decided for the keynote. And so that's his argument. And so if you look at all the other arguments that have been made thus far, it's all, I didn't realize I was actually hurting anybody. I was just trying to talk, and it turns out people were doing things. And then David Tolnay is like, yeah, I didn't know I was hurting anybody. I thought we were still talking. And so therefore, I didn't know that it was going to hurt anybody. And then kaboom! It was just like, no, you were trying to hurt people. Like, I actually feel bad for his taking on this one, because I don't think it's as fair as they gave everybody else. I feel like everybody else got this really big benefit of the doubt, and for whatever reason, David specifically just got bust. And I think it's the frustration from the binary the week before. I honestly think the binary payload that he put into whatever proc macro or whatever it was the reason why he's getting completely bust way more. And I think that's I think it's unfair. There needs to be a scapegoat. Somebody needs to, I mean, we all know that there's somebody needed to die on this one, and I think they've pretty much done it. He has since released an apology that the community has classified as a justification. I'm very confused by this because, again, the conference organizer who rescinded the original PhD status and then the lead that was communicating with her, they both released an identical justification saying, like, the guy was like, I told her that we need to consider stuff, and she ran with it. She was like, I thought he was talking on behalf of the team, so I ran with it. So it's like, again, he does a justification, gets bust, and everybody else does the same thing, and they get no trouble. It feels very unfair for this guy. I think it's purely the binary stuff that people are really upset about, and so they're deeming him as the evil one. The only way forward I can see is to potentially ask him to step down from his T-Libs membership status and any involvement, present and future, in the Rust project, the Rust Council, first off, the Rust Council, what are you guys, just a bunch of Jedis? And the Rust Foundation. As I was saying, David Tolnay no longer has a good track record. Dude, the guy has an amazing track record, and he has built incredible technology, like, repetitively. It's one thing to build, like, Harpoon and get one thing correct. Okay, I got one thing correct. But to build over and over and over again and be like 50 to 70% of the Rust ecosystem, this guy has a really good brain. And one mess up, this is such an intense bussing. And while I'm very sad to, for a lack of a better way to put it, throw him under the bus, got the bus, he has wasted his chance to apologize and make things right twice. And not being anything about it would, not doing anything about it would make the Rust project complicit. I also hate this take. I hate takes like this where you can just like, I think his apology is just fine. I actually think it's fine. Honestly, I don't see anything wrong with it because it just seems like it seems on par with everybody else's apology. All right, what do you guys think? Okay, hold on. Am I way off here? Let's ask you guys, am I way off here? I'm going to go here because I could be wrong. I'm fine being wrong. I'm fine being awful. Let's just do a new take. David Tolnay is a bad actor or whatever you want. Deserves the bus. Doesn't. I just want it. Doesn't deserve. No. Right? Pick a side or ambivalent. Right? Somewhere in between. I did kind of precede the conversation with my opinion. So very fair that this is kind of like a bad poll. I get it. I'm fairly good at data. I get this. But it does seem like a lot of people say, no, it's fine. Rust Council is equivalent to Game of Thrones, but then who's having sex with whose sister? I want to know that. Who is it? Well, if we're going to do Game of Thrones properly, you got to have one incestual relationship. All right, let's keep on going. The PhD argues that this all points to an entire dysfunctional Rust project. I actually agree with this take. I think the fact that we're sitting here is that the community and the Rust project and the Rust Foundation are completely ran by the wrong people. I think that we have bad leadership in general, and I do think that I think it'd be great for the community, for different people to be a part of it. But I can't say who are the right people, and I can't say who would make a good domination, and I honestly don't think I could fix the situation. I'm smart enough and wise enough at this point that I don't think I'm a good representative of what the right ideas are. Let's see, I personally want to apologize to him if this seems like a witch hunt. It is a witch hunt, because in some places it has been, and the timing between the two dramas doesn't help at all. I'm just communicating the community's concerns and proposing what I think are high level-headed solutions. So I don't think these are level-headed solutions. I don't think these are the community concerns. And then, hold on. All right, so Jaboy Burnt Sushi, for those that don't know, he used to be a part of the moderation team, right, if I'm not mistaken. Is there still a Rust moderation team? Rust moderation team. Right? Burnt Sushi gave, like, the proclamation that the team has resigned and all that, right? So Burnt Sushi, very, like, prolific guy. Wrote RipGrep, wrote CSV Parser. Great guy. Haskell mentioned, let's go. Really just major appreciations right now for Burnt Sushi. Always tends to have a very level take too. I have always appreciated his takes. So disclosure, I'm a member of the Libs API, which of David is also a member. Okay. Community think. No one. I have seen no compelling reason to treat your words as what the community thinks. I think this is a correct take. And also, by the way, he puts the period inside the quotes like a true and responsible writer. Okay. He is genuinely a very nice guy, and I feel genuinely bad he's not a part of the mod team anymore. I think that Burnt Sushi was actually the right person for the job. The people we wanted were the people that quit, which makes me still to this day very sad about it, honestly. And I really wish that didn't happen. Let's see. It has been proposed before to have Serde be merged into Rust project like Rust Analyzer, and this is what I propose as a solution. I must have missed this entire paragraph. I don't think this is generally probably a good idea. As a practical matter, I see two possible paths to clear some necessary but not sufficient hurdles. One, obtain the consent of Serde maintainers to transfer to the Rust project, okay? Or, without consent, convince the Rust project to either forcefully take ownership of the project or fork it as an official alternative to Serde. In my judgment, this would require nothing less than an RFC in this case. I also think this would just be pure shitty, right? Can we all agree that doing number two would just be like, it would... Rust already doesn't have, like, the Rust Foundation, the Rust project, the Rust leadership doesn't have, like, the best reflection in the community right now. Shitty called it. So... doing this would be, it would feel really bad, right? Like, we can all agree number two is not good. In this particular scenario, I personally don't foresee two happening, so my recommendation would be to refocus your efforts on one as a starting point. I think this is fine. I think that it's fine if they wanted to do that. The thing is I know that Serde isn't necessarily the most efficient, form of, what's it called, of serialization, and some people don't like it, and blah, 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 whatever. But nonetheless, it's a fine, I use it all the time. I actually have no idea why people don't like it, to tell you the truth. That's just what I've heard. Anyways, edit. It is plausible that two is a sufficient criterion for achieving your end. The point I meant to convey here is that there are concerns well beyond what you've stated for whether Serde should be maintained as part of Rust project. That is, concerns that are entirely separated from the questions of Serde's current maintenance status. The RFC would presumably need to account for all those concerns. Yeah. I think there's a lot to it because right now it feels like they're struggling under just having good leadership. And so adding more to their plate technically just seems like the wrong decision. And right now it's completely maintained by the community. Seems fine. I don't know. I mean, oopsies. Let me get rid of that. This stream is not endorsed by the Rust Foundation. Correct. Trademarked. What's the inverse of the Peter principle called? Because the good people quitting is it. Yes. Good people. The good people are truly quitting at this point, which feels bad. All right. Let's see what else we got here. The only way forward I see is to politely ask him to step down from his T-Libs membership status and any involvement, present and future, in the Rust Project, Rust Council, and the Foundation. So without looking at Sushi's response, again, I still feel like this is such a knee-jerk. There are at least three relevant questions to ask here. Was David a part of the conference organization? Was David a part of the conference program committee? Was David a part of the leadership chat? I believe the answer to all three of these questions is no. Period. In the quotations. Good job, Burnt Sushi. On its own, that, in my opinion, significantly limits David's possible culpability. It's true. If he wasn't technically a part of anything and just voicing his concern, is it a big problem? Like, I really am not convinced it's a big problem here. If the extent of David's involvement is, as he said, I expressed forceful skepticism of the compile time introspection work, which I have been passively following with great interest, would achieve a state that would be suitable for a Rust conference keynote in the time for 2023 conference. For a lack of adequate laying team iteration, neither the Rust Foundation grant selection nor the conference presentation to land well with the RustConf audience. I think it would land very well with the RustConf audience no matter what, because I think this is a very compelling talk. It's a very exciting thing. Even Pick, I guarantee you, even Pick, where's Pick? Pick, tell me you don't think that it's that compile time stuff is awesome. Tell me you want that in Haskell. Tell it to me. I think Rust Project Foundation Council is bad at managing things. The problem is they don't have enough power. Let's give them more things to manage. You can tell this is written by communists. Oh, no. Oh, it hurts. Oh, TJ. I want it, Daddy. Everybody wants it. TJ, damn it, TJ. No, but real talk, it is true. Like, they're struggling under the weight of maintaining all these things with a positive community outlook. So adding more to their plate just seems like the wrong move. You know what I mean? It just seems wrong here. All right. So again, if you take everybody else's words as like true, genuine honesty, then you also have to take Mr. Tolnay's as well. And so his seems like this is a pretty reasonable take. I don't agree with him. I think compile time is probably the most exciting feature of all time. Again, I just think that his take is fine. Then, in my opinion, this at most warrants an apology. I'm not even sure. Like, what do you apologize for? You didn't think you don't think it's good. That's your opinion, man. Like, hey, that's your opinion. Like, I think TypeScript kind of sucks. I will never apologize for that opinion. I think the type system is just good enough to feel nice and just bad enough to be horrible like 40% of the time. I'm not completely against DHH removing TypeScript from his project, but do I think types are good? Yeah. I'm not going to apologize for saying TypeScript sucks. I'm not going to go on Twitter and tweet things that are like types that are like, gosh, TypeScript sucks, because that would be kind of divisioning creating, right? Like, I wouldn't do that. That would be rude. But at the same time, I don't think you should have to apologize for that, right? Then, in my opinion, this warrants mostly an apology, one that I believe has been given. Okay, so he thinks that this has been given. Moreover, I find the concerns that David claimed his expressed as extremely reasonable. Yes, I do think his little RFC he wrote was actually very reasonable. To be clear, that doesn't mean it should have led to disinviting, edit, or downgrading Keynote. Yeah. I don't even think it did, right? Like, if you read the other people's takes on what happened, the other community members or the other leadership members that were a part of it, it doesn't seem like that's what happened. It sounds like the person leading it all heard more than one person say they don't think it'd be a good talk, and then just ran with it. And then the conference organizer was like, well, that person must be the authoritative person, so I'm just going to listen to him. And so it just sounds like the whole thing got screwed up. As far as I can tell from public knowledge, this ordeal was precipitated by a breakdown in communication that led to a wrong to a wrong committed against the PhD. Agreed. It was a wrong committed against the PhD. I truly feel bad for the PhD in this situation. Truly a low blow to him. That should, and I believe is, being corrected with the formation of the council and their commitment to transparency. We should absolutely do our best to avoid repeating this mistake. I do not believe David's resignation would aid in that avoidance. Okay? Which included holding a crate that is essential to the Rust ecosystem hostage to make a point on the... Yes. See, I completely disagree with this one. This narrative that appears to be present as a statement of fact. Your Honor, I would like to object. This was such a boom goes the dynamite statement right here. Let's go, Sushi. I really do. I don't like this because you are really, truly trying to like get into his head and say exactly why he did all the things he did when it seems pretty obvious. Like, I've never been somebody that likes to do this whole conspiracy thing where it's just like, yeah, sure, there's a huge performance win. But if you really think about it, like, I don't want to really think about something. Like, whenever you start really thinking about something, you're almost always incorrect. I appreciate your thoughts and opinions. I do agree that parts of this may involve in the benefits, blah, 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 blah. All right. Let's see. Oh, when this leadership reform happened, it was essential to know who was liable and who wasn't part of this fiasco. And he lied. Okay, so they're making, so this guy's a lonely zero is making the argument. I must have missed that entire paragraph somehow. I'm such a good reader. Effectively saying that that David lied. This is factually incorrect. The mod team resigned, which I was a part, and is precipitated government's reform. Government's reform was well underway for quite some time before this incident occurred. Agreed. In fact, Burn Sushi did the whole thing. All right. Do we have any replies? You are free to communicate any of these statements of mine that I expressed were derived from community feedback, and I'll happily back them with all possible extents. However, okay, so he's saying no, he actually is correct. Okay, I do agree one is the way to go. Okay, to be done amicably. It's not amicably. This is like asking somebody to resign. There's nothing amicable about, at this point, there's nothing amicable about being like, hey, you need to give us Serde. Amicably. It's like, that's not amicable. There's nothing amicable about that, right? You've been appointed, nothing. Will you give us your something now? I know. I pay my taxes willingly and happily. Let's see. I never meant to forcefully adopt Serde and Sin. It should be done with all parties understanding and agreeing with the reasoning behind it. Namely, both Serde and Sin have become so integrated into the Rust ecosystem that I think it makes sense for them to live under the Rust project umbrella. I actually think that, like, I actually agree with this statement. There does come a point where you want, like, especially Sin, like, you use Sin anytime you do a proc macro. Like, at some point, to use proc macros effectively, you have to use a crate. Probably just deserve, it should just be a part of things. This would allow us to have better maintained and have, I don't know about better maintained, that is a completely subjective statement, and the protections against rogue maintainers be tightened. Again, I don't think he was a rogue maintainer. In the case of 2, I'm heavily against taking Serde's and Sin crates names and forcefully pointing them to the Rust project forward. In my mind, that'd be even more unethical than what David Tolnay did. I don't think he did something unethical. We're risking a left pad-like situation here. I love that left pad has become the moral hurdle in which is like set as the worst. All right, so either way, I think, I don't think we need to get much further. All right, actually, let's do one more. As a person capable of reason and empathy can recognize that sometimes a conflict is important enough that needs to be addressed. I agree with a lonely zero that this is one of those times, and I agree that this forum is an appropriate place for such a discussion. I do not know the correct decision. Okay, this is... I'm not going to lie to you. This is like the world's most useless line that has ever been added. As a very emotionally complete individual with capabilities of both reason and empathy, I can see this is important to talk about. That's all I wanted to say. Discuss amongst yourselves points I've made in my previous part. Thank you, emotionally complete individual. Anyways, just to kind of round this entire thing up, Again, I think that 90% of Rust problems are the fact that they don't have like public meetings where they discuss the things and make it so that they're like all decision-based things need to be discussed and probably just open. Make it very, very simple, right? Anything you discuss has to be open. All things should be able to be read, right? People are going to have their own private conversations, whatever. That's always going to happen. That's called politicking. It's always going to be a part of things. They're going to use Signal. They're going to use Discord. They're going to use whatever they need to get around whatever. But the fact that they don't just have all those public things extremely public seems very obvious, and all decisions being made in public, I think, could have just avoided all these problems. And second off, people who didn't touch grass and go outside are in charge of an org. What could go wrong? And second, I think that Rust is such an intense language, like Haskell, that it takes a true dork to really enjoy the language itself. I like Rust. I like Rust a whole bunch. Pick loves Haskell. He's a dork. He also apparently something about horses and something else. Anyways, and so when I hear this, like, I don't think people that would be into Rust would make a good person to be making personnel-based decisions. And so I think that there's like this whole problem of the engineer being promoted to manager problem. Oh, hey there, individual who's very, very good at engineering. Come be a manager because you're good at engineering, right? Like, I think that this happens, and it always falls apart. You see it happen at a billion companies. At the end of the day, I sure hope they get their crap together. I hope Rust Foundation itself becomes less political. I hope they're very careful about who they choose for their upcoming moderation team, because I know at least one person applying for their moderation team has acted completely wild on Twitter and is potentially going to be in the moderation team. Like, I would lose all confidence in them if that happened. And so it's, I sure hope that they take things more seriously and just find people that are perhaps better talking to people. You know what I mean? Maybe, just maybe, they could talk to people. Just throwing it out there. The name is, you got to stop having drama, Rust. Just talk to each other. Just open up the effing Discord call. Make it public. Do it on Twitch. Just talk. Just make the talks. Just talk to each other. Again.